You know, it was good seeing Kyle Shanahan beat down Dan Quinn's defense the way that he did tonight, because Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan were both coaches on that Super Bowl 51 team that blew the 28-3 lead to the New England Patriots, Atlanta Falcons. And when history talk about that game, you would think that Kyle was the head coach and Dan was the coordinator. When in reality, Dan Quinn was the head coach and Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. But people always blame Kyle Shanahan for what happened in that Super Bowl. They give where at least the majority of the blame, and you would never think that Dan Quinn had anything to do with it. So when I saw they showed Dan Quinn and Kyle on the split screen, that's the first thing I thought of was that Super Bowl. But yeah, I wanted to get that out the way. Another thing, these big games, man. The big games, the most anticipated games. Sometimes the problem you run with building up games like this, like even myself, like just all week anticipating that game because of the two teams that's playing, the history, they're both historically great teams. They both have a big fan base. Maybe Dallas has the bigger fan base. Both have the same amount of Super Bowls from the 90s. Anyway, both have the same amount of Super Bowls. They're both, like I said, historical franchises. And they both, I don't know if you can really call it a rivalry because Dallas hasn't won, especially the last 2 years in the postseason. So, but the point I'm making is every time you have these big games and you build up the anticipation, you always run the risk of what we got here tonight, which was a blowout. You anticipate it, you think it's going to be a close game, which myself is exactly what I thought. I thought it was going to be a close game tonight, but it was the exact opposite, especially, in the second half, especially. And you saw the writing on the wall pretty much in the first half. Like, if Dallas don't turn this around, this is not going to be one of those situations to where their defense is keeping them in the game. Like the Pittsburgh Ravens game earlier today is not going to be that situation. If Dallas don't figure this thing out, San Francisco is going to run away with it. And that's exactly what happened. San Francisco beat the Cowboys 42-10. It's a really ugly game, really bad game. And coming into this game, I didn't really pick anyone as I usually do. I didn't really have a team that I picked to win because I was just intrigued by this matchup. I really wanted to see if Dallas had turned the corner. Is Brock Purdy going to throw that first interception, have that game? What I wanted to see was maybe this is going to be the game. My prediction, in all honesty, was this is going to be the game where we're going to find out if Brock Purdy can come from behind and lead a game-winning drive. Because I don't know if we've seen that quite yet. That's what I was looking for. But we didn't get that. No adversity tonight. Just padding the stats for an MVP, for a run at MVP. So yeah, it really wasn't what I thought it would be. Like I said, I didn't pick a team. Like I said, I was just intrigued by the matchup, wondering what was going to happen. But because coming into the game, we talked about how Dallas hadn't really, they lost to Arizona, who's not going to be a good team. I remind people that all the time. Like, yes, Arizona is a good win, but bad teams beat good teams sometimes. The Colts won like 4 games last year. And one of those wins were against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl. So just because you lose to a bad team, it doesn't mean that bad team is going to turn into a good team, or the good team is going to, it doesn't make the Cowboys a bad team in terms of that'll be the norm, them losing to bad football teams. Now, they have a tough schedule, so we're going to see what they're going to do coming up. But anyway, back to my original point, because I keep getting sidetracked. What was I saying? Kept getting sidetracked. I'm getting sidetracked. Dallas wanting to see if the Cowboys had turned the corner, wanting to see like the anticipation of the matchup. This is an anticipated matchup, and both teams like coming into the game. That's the point I was making. Coming into the game, we heard that the Cowboys hadn't beaten anyone. They played. They beat the Giants in Week 1. They beat the New York Jets. We know what happened to Aaron Rodgers. They, piled on 40 on the Giants. Let's go to it, actually. Piled 40 on the football Giants. 40-0. Just destroyed the Giants, took them apart. Beat the Jets 30-10. Lost to the Cardinals. Beat the Patriots 38-3. And it's like, okay, now let's see what they're about. They're playing a real team. And then on the flip side, we could say the same thing about the San Francisco 49ers. Who has they played yet? They've scored 30 on every opponent this year, and that streak continues today. They beat the Steelers 30-7. They beat the Rams 30-23. They beat the Giants 30-12. They beat the Cardinals, the team the Cowboys lost to, 35-16. And we're saying, okay, let's see. Both teams are playing real opponents, and we just saw San Francisco completely, take the Dallas Cowboys. They just took them completely apart. Especially in that second half. Even in the first half, but especially in the second half is when they just took off and ran with it, because Dallas had a chance to cut the score. They were down 21-7 going into halftime, and they got the ball back, and they just couldn't do anything with the football. It just looking at this game, what it just said was the Cowboys does not belong on the same field as the San Francisco 49ers. People may ask, hey, you were hard on the Cowboys after their Week 1 win. It's because the reason that it's different here, why I would give more credibility to this win, is because, one, of course, the Giants. The Giants are not a real opponent for a team like the Cowboys, especially. And the San Francisco is a much more legit opponent. So you can't go celebrating. You can, it's your team, but understand that people have the right to criticize when you do. It's like you beat the New York Giants. We know what they are. We know what the Giants are, and they continue to prove that. But not a good football team. And like I said, tonight didn't look like Dallas belonged on the same field as the San Francisco 49ers. And it doesn't look like they can fix this in time if they were to beat this team in the playoffs, because the quarterback just don't know what to do. Like what do you do against this defense? You've seen this. You saw this defense last year, and you saw this defense a year before. Maybe they weren't even as good as they were last year as they are this year. Maybe they weren't as good as they were 2 years ago as they are this year. So what do you do if you're Dak Prescott, if you're Mike McCarthy? Please don't say Cooper Rush is the answer against this defense. We know that Trey Lance isn't ready, so please don't go that route. You just don't have an answer for what these guys have on defense. You don't have one single answer at quarterback, especially, because it would be intriguing to see what, say if you took out Dak and you put in Joe Burrow, you took out Dak and you put in Patrick Mahomes, what could they do with the talent Dallas have against the 49ers defense? Because Dak just isn't the answer. It's not all Dak Prescott's fault. Again, I don't put too much, I know people are going to say Cowboys defense overrated, but like I said, man, when your offense isn't giving you anything, it's just a matter of time before your defense just say, forget it. We're not getting help. Because every time Dallas was playing good defense in the first half and they're doing their thing, getting the ball, taking the ball away and making plays on defense, I'm just looking like, oh, well, it's all going to be for nothing because your offense ain't going to do nothing for you. And it was true every time. They got the lone touchdown, but for the most part, offense did nothing. So I'm not even looking at Dallas's defense and saying, oh, they're overrated, because the offense put them in a bad spot tonight. Offense put them in a really bad spot. You can't do that against a team like the 49ers, who seem to be a complete, well-rounded team. Please stop calling Brock Purdy a game manager. Please stop saying he doesn't belong in the MVP conversation. Christian McCaffrey did not have a Christian McCaffrey type game tonight. Not saying he needed to. Not saying he needed to or anything, or it's a bad thing that he didn't, because we saw what the team did. He did score a touchdown, but he did not, he didn't do what he did last week against San Francisco. And I say that to say that people, they talk about McCaffrey. Yes, McCaffrey is an explosive player, but Brock Purdy showed that he can make plays as well, accuracy. He's not just flinging the football up there, hoping that Ayuk or Debo or somebody just catch it. He's actually making plays. You can see the accuracy with this dude, with this kid. No longer Mr. Irrelevant. So let's give Brock Purdy his credit. And honestly, Dallas is, the offense just can't leave the defense hanging like that. They can't leave them hanging like that. So we'll see what the Chargers do. We'll see what happens against the Chargers next Monday night. But I'm not ready to call Dallas defense overrated because I feel like the offense put them in a really bad spot tonight. So that's all I wanted to say on this. Appreciate you guys taking this time to hear me out. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Yes, we know the Carolina Panthers are 0-5. They're not a good team. We're not good. We're not good. And that's why I'm not watching them. Not because they're not good, but because they have been consistently not good for the last few years, and I'm tired of it. But anyway, we ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about that. Positive stuff over here. See y'all soon.